Hi everybody, it's Mianza. Today I wanted to talk about why it's so important to learn how to express your feelings and verbalize your emotions, especially for people that have personality disorders. I think a lot of us that grew up to develop personality disorders or complex PTSD or things like that grew up in households where learning to express yourself was not taught and it wasn't safe. Like any form of expressing yourself emotionally could have been handled in ways where it made you feel like you were too much or that you were causing too much pain for the people around you. Or you grew up in households with emotionally unavailable people. Like there were certain people in my household that didn't know how to express their feelings and didn't know how to tell me and my sister like if something was wrong. So instead they would just ignore us and we would take it out on ourselves and like put ourselves as the blame for what they were feeling. So it felt like we were constantly a burden and that we internalized so many things and so many bad thoughts of our own identity because the people in our house didn't know how to properly communicate. Growing up in emotionally neglectful relationships is like a breeding ground for you to constantly put yourself back into those types of situations because there isn't really a place where you can express how you feel and you can't express how other people are making you feel because you don't even have the words to feel that. So there's like a constant buildup of anger and resentment that can go on for years. When you don't have the proper systems in place to process things and to actually feel your feelings without feeling guilt for feeling them or without feeling like your feelings are going to burden other people, anything that happens can feel huge. And like literally sometimes like with BPD, I feel something where it feels similar to me being abandoned. My complex PTSD will really be heightened and I'll get all these flashbacks of all the times I've ever felt that, and I'll start like connecting the dots, like this reminds me of when this happened, I felt this way and I'm starting to feel this way, so it means it must be this. And it feels like a war in my brain and in my body. Like my body goes into the highest form of stress that you can possibly imagine, and it feels like as if I'm fighting in a war just from the thoughts in my mind, because I didn't grow up learning how to emotionally regulate myself. I didn't grow up learning how to speak about how I feel. And the buildup of all of those feelings mixed with flashbacks that are emotional flashbacks, not even just like because with complex PTSD, flashbacks come emotionally. Emotional flashbacks feels like you are re-experiencing everything all over again. But all the millions of feelings all at once, you're experiencing them all over again. So we internalize that any act where somebody starts to ignore us or needs time away just to process something, we take it as an attack. Like we get terrified and we internalize it like that there's something wrong with us and it's our fault that they want to step away. It's our fault that they need space. It's our fault because we don't learn in these unsupportive households that people can take time for themselves. People can have space. People process things differently because we grew up walking on eggshells, needing to always silence ourselves to not feel like a burden, or needing to not do the things like asking for basic needs because we know that it stresses this person out, and if that person is stressed out then that means that they're going to withdraw a bit of love, so we don't ask for those things. And then we learn to parent ourselves, and because we're parenting ourselves without any like knowledge of how to do that at such an adolescent age, it's like we are parenting ourselves so fucking far behind than where we should be, and we become people pleasers, we become fawners, we become these type of people that don't want to disturb the peace, that don't want to disturb any type of like connection with anybody. Like we just want to make sure that everybody always is going to stay with us in our life because we don't want to be abandoned, because we don't know how to build relationships. There's no genuine feeling or expression of who you are because you don't learn it. All my teachers used to be like, she's so quiet, she's like a little princess. Meanwhile, in my head, I was raging. I was a raging bitch. It's like, there's so much suppression. And if you don't start therapy or you don't start learning how to verbalize your emotions and stuff, like that is when it can get into scary territories. If you don't know how to speak emotionally and learn how to verbalize how you feel, anytime somebody hurts you, you're not going to tell them, hey, you hurt me. You're just going to be like, oh, it's fine. And you're going to feel the pain. And after a while, I noticed, especially once I became a teenager, is when all of that fear turned into anger, numbness, and avoidance. And then I became a fucking bitch. For real. I became such a bitch. I was like, not gonna respond to anybody, don't want to talk to you, hate you, telling you to your face that you suck. The thing I hate about avoidant attachment, and I'm so happy that I grew out of it, is that avoidant attachment creates this false reality that you are living in protection, when in reality, you, in the end, will have nobody. Because that protection, that guard that you're putting up is so strong that even when you do start to express emotions, people start to feel the fear that you once felt when you were dealing with other people that were avoidant, didn't know how to work together, and were so used to doing everything for themselves and having to emotionally provide for themselves, that that protected reality becomes the only reality that they'll ever feel safe in. And it can take years or even never the ability to open up and trust again, because like our identity and how we feel is like so rooted in other people. We hide so much of our emotions and we keep it inside, and it literally poisons us. Like I've talked to other people that have BPD, and it genuinely feels like you have a poison in you, and that at any moment it can erupt. That's the thing with like expression of emotion. Like if you don't learn how to healthily express your emotions, you are on two sides of a very scary spectrum. You are either very avoidant or way too anxiously attached. And when you're not in that like window of tolerance, the in between, oh, the situations that you can get yourself into and the pain that you can feel is unbearable, especially if you're highly sensitive. Like in the end, like we're all human and we're all experiencing things, and it's just some of us are more immature and unable to express it. But the important thing is that you start to learn how to. And I'll tell you some of the ways that I started to become comfortable with my emotions, because I don't want to just talk and then like not give any ideas. First of all, I hate when people are like, don't get diagnosed because then you're just going to convince yourself, and like, shut up. Okay, if I didn't learn that I had BPD, I genuinely believed that I was completely like broken. I actually thought I was broken, and I thought something was wrong with me and that I wasn't gonna live past a certain age. Like I genuinely thought like I will never be able to relate to anybody. I will never be able to feel connections to anybody, whatever. And then once I learned about my diagnosis and I started to find a community where people like me existed, I felt so much more at peace, knowing that the ways that I feel do not have to be considered a burden, and that I don't have to consider myself a burden or myself too much or that I'm broken. And that is literally what started my process of forgiving myself and loving myself again, and starting to learn how I've talked about my other videos about being authentic. Like I stopped putting on masks for people. I stopped putting on like this facade of who I was or pretending like things didn't bother me. I started to actually verbalize if something bothered me. I started to learn the things that would trigger me and the things that I needed to work on, and going to so many therapies. Like I have an addictions counselor, I have a psychiatrist, I have a different counselor that I see, and then I have my main counselor. So that's like 4 different people that I see every month. And learning from there and then applying to like other programs. And I was in a complex PTSD program for a while, and I learned so much about my brain and so much about the way that I felt and why I felt the ways that I did. All of these things, it didn't become like nobody gets me. It was like so many people get me, and I was like, and we are so much stronger because of it. And don't have people dismiss your feelings. Don't have people tell you like you shouldn't feel this way because there's bigger things happening in the world, because those are just people that have been dismissed their whole life, and they don't know how to feel and how to love, and their hearts are hard. Their hearts are hardened, and I don't like those people. Dismissing yourself takes away all the room for love and empathy, whether it's for yourself or for others. Love everything. Have so much empathy all the time that your heart is exploding. And that is the most beautiful way to start getting better. And the best way to do this, like literally the first time that I started to feel like I could love again and experience life and be happy and start to heal parts of my BPD was when I started to let myself grieve. Let me feel it. One of my biggest fears was that people were gonna think that I was crazy, and people still think I'm crazy. But now it doesn't bother me, because learning that there's a community out there that is supportive and understands where you're coming from is so much better than living your life being afraid to express who you are. And I love expressing who I am. It's my favorite thing about me, and it's something that just holds so much importance in my heart. It's like at the highest thing. Like before, like trying to keep people around was like my highest thing. Like I need friends, and now like learning to love everything about myself is my highest priority on my list, because it is the only thing that will translate into love for everything, and to empathy for everything. Also helps you to realize that there is hope and that there is ways to get better, and even if that means taking a completely different path than the regular person, it's just a way that you learn how to love yourself, and you learn how to give yourself that validation and that idea that you're not a burden, and that you're allowed to feel things without feeling like you are taking everybody's life away by feeling things like your feelings are too much. There is so much more to life than being afraid all the time. Anyways, I really hope you guys like this video. Please message me all the time in the comments. I love reading your messages and replying, and just being a part of this community makes me so freaking happy to know that other people relate, and that other people feel seen and heard, and like there's a raw version of these feelings out there. Let's be real about how we feel. Oh, that's like a good slogan. Let's be real about how we feel. I like that. Thank you so much for watching. Love you. Bye.